All right, Nora Banks, welcome to the Burn Boot Camp podcast. I'm so excited to have you here as we go around and tour Alabama. We're here for 2 days. I asked Jim, who's our franchise partner, as you obviously know.
Yes.
For the listeners out there, Jim Saffron owns 3 locations here in the greater Birmingham area. And I asked him, I said, I want to interview someone who's a member at your gym who is the essence of what it is to be a member in your locations and ultimately represent Burn Boot Camp. And he chose you, all right? And it was hands down he chose you. And because what he told me is how much positivity and energy and how valuable that is, that all that stuff that you bring to this community, he really wanted to let Greater Burn Nation hear that from you.
Awesome. I appreciate that.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm excited to really dive in. And I think the place that I want to start with you, so people can just get to know you a little bit, is talk to me about like growing up. What was your family life like? And we'll kind of follow this journey of these highs and lows in your life from the time you were a kid till now, and just the lessons that you've learned and the wisdom that you've acquired by going through life's experiences and the up and down. And we'll talk about Burn too, but I really just want to start with you. So tell me about your background, tell me about your family, and we'll start there.
Okay. Well, I grew up in a very split family. Stepmother, stepfather, mother, father, multiple, just there are a couple of divorces. Mm-hmm. So I have kind of family everywhere. But there was a time when one of my parents was married to someone that it was not a very pleasant 10 years. And they eventually got divorced. But during that time, I just felt extremely out of control. Mm-hmm.
What was unpleasant about it?
There was verbal and emotional abuse. It was just not a lot of love whatsoever. And I felt very protective over my mother, but didn't really have a way to do that. So I was just away at college, and I just felt completely out of control. I felt like I couldn't control anything that was going on in life. And so I went, as a 20-year-old girl, I felt like controlling the lack of food that I put in my body. I felt like I could control over-exercising just for whatever reason. That, to me, was the path I went down, and it wasn't good.
So, and this is freshman year going into college.
This is about my junior year in college.
Did it get to the level of a disease? Do you feel like that it plagued you in that type of way, or was this something that you had temporarily lost control of? Is it something you still battle with today?
It's not something I battle with today, luckily. It caused me to lose a relationship in college. But it wasn't me. And yes, I do think it was a disease. I mean, it was bulimia and anorexia, mm-hmm. but it didn't last too long. Mm-hmm. And things started to get a little bit better mm-hmm. as that marriage ended.
Okay, and you think that your parents married, or your mother and your stepfather?
Correct.
And you think that it was a lot of that need to control came from lack of control?
Absolutely.
In the previous years?
Absolutely.
Wow, that's insightful. And, so many, we have members that are, we didn't really necessarily start this way. The first tagline for Burn Boot Camp was Charlotte's Fit Community of Moms, right? So we're all about the mom life. But as we've evolved, the 12-year-old daughters of the members I had originally are now 20-year-old young gals, and it's extremely prevalent nowadays. Like the things that you went through, what advice might you have for somebody who is struggling with that in college? How did you get out of it? What was the turning point for you to say, hey, anorexia, bulimia, this isn't my identity. It's something that I went through, but it's not going to control me. Do you have any advice for young gals maybe listening to this, struggling with food today?
Yes. It is true. Food can be a positive or a negative. And my advice is this. And it was when I started Burn. So after all of these years, I had a focus meeting with a trainer, and she looked, and I was really good about keeping up with my food. I logged food before I even started here, and again, a control, but she said, I need you to eat more. I don't need you to pass out on my floor, and this is called fueling, and so her advice to me, I grasped it, and I said, okay, I'm going to trust you. And here, 3.5 years later, I'm eating more than I've ever eaten a day in my entire life, and was able to have the energy that I need to have that positive control of what I'm eating and what my mind and my body needs, which has then taken over the rest of my story of other ailments.
Right, and we're gonna really cruise that journey, because, like we said, it's really important for people to hear from just real people like yourself. Like, I don't know if you've noticed this at Burn, but we don't use models. We don't use people that aren't a part of our community in like our marketing or
Right.
advertising. It's all real. It's all authentic. It's all us, right? And these are like real world problems, and they don't just exist in, as you know, in 20 somethings that are trying to find their way. It's prevalent in society, right? Especially when there's like this high pressure to look and feel look a certain way. You think about Burn Boot Camp, and its mission is like, it's all about what you can gain, not about what you lose. And like,
Absolutely.
there's this vein in anorexia and bulimia disorders where it's all about what you lose, and you need to lose, right? So how old were you when you feel like you overcame, not that you ever overcome it completely, but like, what was the age when you actually got control on it about?
In a healthy way?
Yeah.
I would say mid to late 20s.
Okay. And, what was the rest of your 20s like after that?
Well, that's when I met my now husband and, learned how to actually cook. And I mean, I think I was able to just kind of let go of the family stuff. Things had gotten better, and so I didn't feel the need at that time to really be so unhealthy and control much.
And then
I was just happy.
You go into like life, right? And you run into, it's not the first obstacle that you're gonna run into, right? Your young 20s, you run into another obstacle. What was the next moment in your life where it was like, okay, hey, this is a roadblock, this is a low for me, and what was that? Like, zoom us into that moment, that next moment in your life where you really had to step up and overcome yourself and build up your character in order to get through that period of time.
So fast forward to 30s, and we've been married, I've got children, life changed. I mean, I love my children with everything, but your life changed, your identity changes. Like, am I just a mom? Am I a wife? I don't know. I can't honestly give you the time when an example of when I really got really low. I don't know why, but I was so grateful for people that love me and helped me to recognize, like, you're not yourself. And so what was happening was my anxiety was out the roof for whatever reason. I had high anxiety. I slipped into just a very deep depression. I just wasn't myself. And I did wake up one day and I said, I just felt out of my skin. And I don't know another way to really describe depression, but it was not good. There was a time, which I know would shock anybody that knows me, but so bad that I called the 1-800 hotline. I mean, I needed like somebody to tell me, like, whatever advice they could give me. I mean, I truly had hit a point of suicidal thoughts, and that was not me at all. I mean, I'm a bubbly person. I'm happy. I realized that the really tough days, I would smile so much bigger just to fake everybody out,
Right.
And it was pretty dark.
Mm-hmm. I was messing around on Instagram the other day, and I saw this video, and it was this video of this woman, and she was like dancing so happily, and she was like on fire, and she just looked like she was just having the time of her life. And then it cut to like next scene, and she had committed suicide. And it just struck me as like a very emotionally pulling thing, because you see this person that, like you're saying, right, that you you almost when you're in those states, and I've never been in one, honestly, like so I have to live through you and through other people that have been there, but I've had a lot of members that have, and I can't help people with something that I haven't experienced. I can't transfer the energy that I haven't experienced with them, and so being able to sit down and talk with you and have you open up, I appreciate it. By the way, I know it's hard to talk about, especially coming from somebody who's like so bubbly and like has to sit here and admit that, hey, I have lows too, right? I think it's just so real because we all do, and this video just struck me as is crazy. So like, how do you recognize that in your friends? How do you recognize that in other people when you can so easily put on a facade.
Yeah.
You can so easily put that smile on. How do you recognize that? What can we do for friends of ours that might be having those tendencies?
Well, I will say this before I answer that. The video that you're talking about, I didn't see, but it makes me think of, the current celebrity, like Twig, or all these celebrities in the past few years that you look at them and you're like, number one, it's so unfair to say, like, you have it all. What are you unhappy about? Or Robin Williams. And it's like, they're the funny ones. They're the big personalities. But the point is, it is a disease. Like,
right.
It's real. Mental health is real. And I think for anyone going through it, it's a battle to overcome, and only you can do it. And yes, it did for me take medication, a lot of medication. And when I was in the depths of it, my husband would just say, why don't you just go work out? Like, release the endorphins. He was right, but my brain could not compute. Like, I can't even go take a shower today. How am I going to go walk the neighborhood, So my advice to a friend putting on I think it's made me be more real with even more real with my friends. How are you doing today? Like, how are you really doing? Tell me what's going on, not just how's your day going.
Right. Like a casual, hey, how are you? I hope
yes.
you're good. I hope you're well. Like, how are you doing? Like, yeah.
It is hard to recognize though, and I just think if you can pick up on any cues of something that someone might be going through, just realize that their smile might be bigger some days, and you just need to show them love.
So you
love.
used some medication. Was there anything else that pulled you out? How did you get out? So many people get trapped there for very long periods of time, and it didn't seem like you were there for too long, that you kind of hit a low, tread water for a while, and wasn't a good experience, but you got out.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was a few years, really. Medications I was on, it not only affected just my brain. Like, I was on 2 depression medications, plus an anxiety medication. And I was so stressed all the time. I was diagnosed with cluster headaches, and I was just so tense that I had to take very strong medication for preventative for headaches and a muscle relaxer. It's a lot of medicine.
Yeah.
And then enters my burn journey. That is how I got out of it. I was on all of that when I started.
Oh, okay. I did not know that. So you found exercise. Were you in it still? Like, were you still at the point where, like, hey, showers are tough, or did you start to climb out with the medication and then layer on exercise after that?
I had a friend that just said, hey, let's start walking in the morning together, and I don't think she knew how deep I was in, but let's just start walking. And that felt good, and I was like, I want to, like, cut back on this medication. I'm feeling a little better. And then I was asked to come do a 6-week promo.
Oh, yeah.
And I did it. And I was like, what have I gotten into? I cannot even breathe. I've not worked out in years.
What was your first camp like?
Oh my gosh, I will tell you, this is true. I got home and I was shaking, so it was an upper body, and my arms were shaking so bad. I dropped my phone, shattered the glass. I was like, what have we just done? And then I was like, okay, well, maybe we'll skip tomorrow. I can't sit down, but I think I came 2 or 3 times a week for a little while. And it was honestly only 2 months in that I got off of everything. And I've not been on any medicine since. And
Let's go.
thank you. Well,
I love it.
So, I realized this was something good. Like, this is
yeah.
really hard, but this is something really good. And I literally had my calendar, and the 50 camp mark was just like, I don't know if I'll get there, but I would write the number every single day and mark it off. Then I hit 50 camps. And then pandemic hit, and I was so amazed. I was like, I can't let this go. And when the pandemic hit, I thought, oh my gosh, like, people's, in general, mental health was going crazy, being stuck inside.
Yes.
I'm clearly a very social person, and just being at my house, all the time was too much. So I was so grateful that it was videoed and we could do it from home. And I still have like my homemade painter's tape on my deck that will not come off from my ladder. But
your little tape ladder.
Yes.
On the deck.
Yeah. But I stuck with it. I hit 100 camps during pandemic, and then it
kept rolling from there.
In 3.5 years, yeah.
That's incredible. So the dedication and consistency to the physical routine has kept those thoughts away. Do they come back? Do you find yourself, thinking about the past, or do you use your past as a way to say, I am not that person, never going to be that person again, and I will use that, I will remember that, but I'll run from it as fast as I can? Or do you find yourself having to still fight to not go back to that state?
It's not a fight anymore.
Okay,
it's
good.
absolutely what you said, the latter. That is not me, and that will not define me. And I just love the control that I have over what my body can do, what I can eat. I think more than anything on top of that, like my daily medication on top of exercise is like seeing my children and how much that it has impacted them. And like, oh, trust me, there are definitely days where I go to 6 a.m. I don't want to wake up at 5 a.m. to get ready. But like, those clothes are laid out, the protein shake is made, and I will just say, put that foot on the floor and go. And honestly, for them, it has been, I have a preteen, like an 11-year-old boy.
Okay.
Like, there are things that I don't want to go to school. There's things he doesn't want to do. And I remind him, there are days that I don't want to do things, but you got to do it, and you will feel so much better after. And they see it.
Mm-hmm. How else has fitness and your journey into this, right? It just the vehicle happens to be Burn, which I so appreciate.
Yes.
How does that affect? What are some other ways that what you're doing is a metaphor for like your children? And how many children do you have
2.
again? 2 children. Okay.
Boy and
and the boy is 11 and
daughter's 8.
Daughter's 8. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What are some ways that this has impacted? Let's say your daughter, somebody who probably has a higher proclivity to go down that path that you went down, because anorexia and bulimia and body dysmorphia in general is more prevalent in females than it is in males.
Yep.
Although not eliminated, right, by any stretch of the term. But how else do you see exercise impacting your family life to the point where it's a positive metaphor?
Yeah, and I'll tell you that on my daughter, she is me, like made over. That is her personality. So I definitely think about the future, and so she's into cheer, and she loves to be active, and I've been able to remind the both of them that the more dedicated that you are, the more consistent that you are, the more you're going to bump up. Like in your tumbling class, the more you've got to try, you've got to work hard. We don't use words like about weight. We do not use words about weight. We are all about, I really preach being healthy. They literally know nutrition.
Mm-hmm.
My son will look at the back of something and go, well, this has so much protein and this is a serving size. Mm-hmm. And I love that.
Yeah,
like, because not only has, the physical exercise at Burn, but it's taken my nutrition to such another level. Yeah. And we eat completely clean, with the exception of the Christmas candy that is under the house for them. But it's not tempting to me. It's just, my husband, when I met him, he would show up at my house with like a can of soda and a candy bar every day. Yeah. And now he's like, I won't eat a salad if it's iceberg. That has no, it's got to have spinach or something. So it's been cool to watch.
And is that the feeling that you're describing when you say, I now feel in control? Is
yes.
That's the feeling you're describing, right?
Yes, it is the feeling. It's caused me to just really teach myself more about, how to fuel, more about like what this does to my body. And I'm sure we'll talk about it, but some things physical things that I went through
Mm-hmm.
a year and a half ago. Okay, what food is good for me? Like, how will this impact inflammation? I mean,
Let's talk about that now. So
Sure.
dive into that. So a year and a half ago.
So about a year and a half ago, March of last year, I had felt something weird. It wasn't even pain, but something in my hip. It kept clicking. It was just odd. Went and got it checked out, and there was a minimal labral tear. Okay, I go through PT, learn how to really move my body to be stronger, form, come back to the gym, I guess, about 6 to 8 weeks later. And about a month after that, I remember vividly I was doing a plank and just fell. I mean, I woke up in so much pain in my hip. After going to the doctor, it turns out I had a congenital, I was born this way, we just didn't know it, but no cartilage left on my hip.
Okay.
So at 41 years old, I had no choice but to have a total hip replacement,
Okay.
which is crazy.
Wow.
And I went.
It's young.
This is very young.
Right. Yeah.
Yes.
For sure.
I mean, you typically hear of the elderly having them, and their body is already frail, and I shouldn't generalize, but most of them don't move as much as a younger person does.
Right.
So, devastating news for me, because I was now in a 5-day-a-week regimen, and the strongest I'd ever been in my life, and I couldn't believe that. But I truly look back, and while I felt like that lasted forever, it was only 4 to 5 months that I was away and in recovery. I think that what Burn Boot Camp did for my mental health and what it did for clearly my physical health, that is what got me through the recovery process so fast. I mean, I walked into PT.
4 or 5 months is pretty quick for that. It
Yeah.
seems. Yeah.
I was
it seems
back
like that.
in October,
What do
and I had it
what do
done
most people? What's recovery time for most people that have hip replacement?
to go back to a gym.
Yeah.
I would say,
It's like a year, maybe.
maybe a year,
like
yeah.
a year, 18 months, something like that.
Yes.
So that's a super quick recovery.
It's pretty quick.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a surgery on a Friday and walked into PT with a walker, and the physical therapist was blown away. She said, I cannot believe you were walking like this. And, I literally had free weights next to my chair and would just do something to keep me moving.
Of course, you're totally a Burn person.
I had
Just
to.
arm curling in your rehab chair.
In my recliner, laid
your
out with my
recliner,
ice.
yeah.
But no, I was determined. I mean, I was
Yeah.
determined, and I was like, I cannot lose this time.
Yep.
I can't. And not only, we talk about the burn community, and I'm not going to lie, it was very difficult for me to accept help from people. I don't know, but I had a friend say, all these people wanted to cook meals and take me to physical therapy and do all this stuff for me. And I said, no, we've got it. She said, Nora, you're not allowing us to love you the way that God wants us to love you, and you're taking that from us. And I said, okay. There were people from Burn that I wasn't even great friends with, that brought dinner to my family for like 6 weeks.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's cool. That's
So,
super cool.
And trainers that would message me and check in on me. And anyway, so coming back was the most terrifying day ever. I mean, I think it was scarier than my first time walking into Burn.
Do you remember what the protocol was the day that you came back from the hip replacement?
I don't remember the protocol.
Okay.
I don't think it would have mattered.
Okay.
I think
You're
just
just
like walking,
terrified.
I was
Yeah,
so scared.
yeah. Were you cleared obviously by your doctor and stable at that point?
Yeah.
I've had knee surgeries, right, which is not the same. A hip is a much more foundational joint than a knee. But my knee, I still have instability in my knee today, and I still get a little nervous when I see certain types.
Oh yeah.
Certain types of, was it the nervousness of like, oh shoot, what if I break this hip that I just got?
Yes.
Or yeah.
Which is not possible.
Right.
I learned.
Exactly.
But yes, it was all of the things. But it wasn't being nervous coming back to a place. Like, I still had my pandemic square and whatnot, but I was just scared of hurting it or doing too much. And yes, I was cleared, but I was also told so many modifications to make. And, I wasn't even allowed to pound the pavement and run anymore. And so I have, on my own accord, started following like all these different accounts on Instagram to teach me modifications in case I can't grab a trainer quickly, but there is no way I could have come back, and I will pat myself on the back and just say that I killed it without the trainers that we had here. That it meant a lot to me because they knew me prior to surgery. They knew me, how quickly I came back, and they knew me when I came back, and they took such great care of me. And that is a huge testament of like modifying. And I mean, there were certain ones that are like, they would give me a totally different exercise. I mean, I've literally done completely 45 minutes different than anybody else in camp, but it didn't mean it was easier. I mean, it was harder, but they knew my hip couldn't move in a certain way.
Right.
So that has just been incredible to me.
We always say, modify the exercise, don't modify the intensity. Yeah, I love that. Who's the trainer that you've worked with the most?
Well, Joel and Abby.
Okay.
They were definitely. They became very important to me.
Right.
And like I said, knew what I was able to do before, and what not to push me too far, but you're capable of doing.
Well, I think your story is just there's a lot of physical and a lot of mental there too, but it's all mental, right? And like the hit, like having a invasive surgery like that, the physical part you're going to recover from in the back of your mind. It's like you just go look at the statistics and you can see that most people that have these surgeries, they end up recovering into a full recovery. But it's that little doubt, that little mental, it's the mental battle. And it seems like throughout your life, when you hit these low moments, it's like you seem to, from my perspective, to have a tendency to be a mental warrior in those moments, to say, like, you refuse to let it continue to go, and you turn it.
Yeah.
How do you what would you say to people? What would you say to people that struggle with mental health now? What is the best thing that they could do? So we talked about exercise, right? And maybe you could talk about that a little bit in terms of how that's affected you mentally, not physically. But anything else that you seem to be this person that just continues to overcome mental obstacles. And so I want to ask, is there any like mental gymnastics that you've implored? Is that just who you are? Do you think that's your DNA? Talk to me about like that mental battle.
Okay. Oh gosh. Well, I don't know. I guess I could say that maybe it is who I am. It's not who I was though, so I don't know if it's my DNA or not. But I think I've learned to, it's okay to be proud of yourself.
Okay, yeah.
Right? I mean, like, I think sometimes people are like, well, you look arrogant. But no, it's okay. It's totally okay to be proud of yourself, because why else do we work so hard?
Right.
And so if I, get discouraged or am feeling down or whatever, just having a day, like, I do catch myself kind of looking back and like, no, you have accomplished all of this. Like in the mornings, just put your foot down and just take one step forward.
Oh, that's a good metaphor. I love that, right? It's like, I think the advice people need to hear is like, if you let your mind go into that mental like vortex, that like cycle, without just making a decision to like put your foot on the floor and just do it, it's like, that's the only other option, right? Because like, if not, you're just going to continue to spiral. That's important.
Yeah.
Do you get up before everybody else in your house?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That's like to me, that's a very important mental battle that you get to win every day too, right?
Yeah. Oh, well, yes, morning. I mean, there are days where I'm like, I'm going to sleep in a little and go to 7:30, and then I'm totally thrown off, and I don't think control is really that bad if it's in a healthy way. And like for me, yes, it is consistency. Like I'm used to not being a morning person. But that whole like 4:45 wake up call, you get a whole 2 cups of coffee before you get in the car. You get to listen to your music, and then if I'm thrown off I'm so routine now. If I'm thrown off my schedule, my water intake is off. It's just a spiral, you know?
Okay, so we have a few minutes left. I thank you for sharing all that, by the way. I think that's incredible, and so relatable. I relate a lot to it as well. Okay. Changing a quick pivot. Who's the who is the person in the gym? And I'm gonna put you on the spot with this.
Oh,
and this
boy.
doesn't render everyone else that you know in the gym like their journeys are cool and awesome. But what's the one that that sticks out in your mind from somebody else that you've been a part of that has really impacted your life in a positive way? Watching it or being a part of it.
So someone else's transformation story that I watched. Brandy Davis.
Okay. Can you explain it a little bit?
I remember looking through the window one time when I was had just started, and I saw Brandy, who is just precious. And I think it's funny. It's funny when you look back and you don't know somebody, and then you see where you are today, and you're like, oh, we are literally the same personalities. She had a boot on her foot. I mean, she was working out in a boot with an injury, and that blew my mind, you know? But then I saw her transformation story, and I mean, she has, I believe it's fibromyalgia, and she just kept pushing on. And yes, I will say, visibly, it's just mind blowing to me. It's just, but I like watching her transform, and I also physically, but also because I think that her mentality is the same as mine, of just there are tough days, but just keep going. And she's always just such a sunshine and such a ray to watch. So, you know, she's a lot like me. We'll be dancing out there on the dance floor and completely miss what we've been told to do. But anyway, I love watching her
dancing
grow.
And missing the whole dynamic
Absolutely.
setup and being like, hey, what do we do again? Okay, quick burn questions. All right, favorite protocol, go.
Now, upper body.
Upper body strength. Yeah. Okay, good. Me too.
The days that I no, my hip is not working.
Yeah,
I'm I am going to put it all into my arms.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Okay, so what's your favorite exercise?
Am I allowed to say burpees?
Yeah, you can totally say burpees.
I hate them, but I love them.
Yeah. Okay.
Like a full burpee.
What is one exercise that you want to get better at that you're focused on for 2023?
Pull-ups.
Pull-ups? Okay, good.
I even posted to me a non-scale victory. I could only do them with all the bands, you know, and it was hardly even anything. And now I can't remember what the number was. I think I knocked out almost 20 with a gray band or something, you know. Okay. So we're getting there.
Yeah, for sure.
But I do not care about a double under. It's never going to happen.
Okay. All right, good. Pull-ups it is. Pull-ups it is. The upper body queen. All right. I got it. And then my last question would be, what do you want to leave Burn Nation with, right? Nora is a staple of this community. You have this big microphone to be able to share with somebody exactly what would be on your heart and your mind. What would you tell them?
If I were trying to, which I have brought many people to Burn just by sharing how amazing that it is and how life transforming it's been for me, doesn't matter where you are, just start. It does not matter. It doesn't matter how old you are. It does not matter how much you weigh. It doesn't matter if you can get up in the morning, just start, because it is so mind-blowing to me when I look back 3.5 years, how much that I have changed. I mean, even my numbers, but all of it is just amazing. And just walk through the doors. And there's nothing like the girlfriends I have made here. And, you know, the community it really is amazing. It sounds so cliche, but it's so true. And you do not know until you walk in. Yeah. So,
well, Nora, thank
I'm
you
very grateful.
So much for hanging out with us today.
You.
I really appreciate it. And I know that our members and beyond, people that are members outside looking in, are going to take your advice seriously. And hopefully they consider Burn and get some of the goodness that you've gained over the past 3.5 years in this community, and that I've gained too. So we share that.
Thank you
so
for
much.
all you do.
You're amazing.
Thank you.
All right.